And when he writes to you, Mr. Speaker, will he also be encouraged to explain what on earth has gone on with the sudden appearance of this 10th site?
If the Secretary of State would wish to respond, he's welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can't answer the honourable gentleman's question from the dispatch box, but I will, of course, write to him as soon as I get back to the MOD. I'm not sure that it does represent what he is suggesting it represents. Some of the sites in question are complex, and I'm happy to write to him and copy you as soon as I get back to the MOD, Mr. Speaker.
I very happily accept that offer from the Secretary of State. As the Secretary of State will know, I am principally concerned with matters of order and good form. Although in a human sense, no doubt, particular sites are of interest, they're not within my sphere of competence, and he knows that. What I'm interested to hear about is the handling of the matters, and the Secretary of State has given me a commitment on that, and I'm grateful for it. A point of order, Mr. Jim Murphy.
Mr. Speaker, with your understanding, I just want to make it quite a specific point of order. That my honourable friend has just raised the point about Kilmarnock, about being on the list of reopened or opening sites. And the only list in Scotland, the only place in Scotland that's determined as a location appears to be in Edinburgh, which is nowhere near Kilmarnock. So it seems that on occasion, every member of the House, including ministers, were reading this list for the first time as it appeared. But Mr. Speaker, I just seek your guidance, because I was handed a copy of the Secretary of State's oral statement as I arrived towards the end of PMQs, which is why I didn't thank him for advance sight of his oral statement today. The written statement was provided late. In fact, I have an email from the House of Commons Library confirming that it arrived at 12:55. Now, that's well after the Secretary of State spoke, and it's well after I spoke, Mr. Speaker. So when the House of Commons Library only receives that at 12:55, something deeply untoward has happened. At 1 p.m, so a few minutes later, the supporting paperwork arrived, and then in the midst of all of that, about the same time, the honourable member for Suffolk Coastal, the PPS for the Minister for Business, took it upon herself to scurry around the chamber with a poor photocopy of a documentation that we should have been provided with earlier, which of course doesn't have Kilmarnock on the list. So it was not only kind of rushed photocopy circulated informally, but perhaps may also be incomplete, Mr. Speaker. So my point of order, Mr. Speaker, is whether you would look kindly upon a request from the Minister for the Armed Forces, whether if he was to seek your permission to make a supplementary statement tomorrow, in light of the fact that actually this weighty document has only just arrived in the last couple of minutes as well, and no member of the House has this document about the impact assessments of the announcements made today by the Secretary of State. No member of the House has this document apart from myself, and I suspect the Secretary of State in his folder. So would he look kindly, if such a request was to be made, Mr. Speaker, by the Minister for the Armed Forces, to make an additional statement tomorrow, so that this whole sordid mess can be clarified once and for all, and so that we can have proper scrutiny, Mr. Speaker?
Well, what I would say to the honourable gentleman is that it is a matter for ministers to decide whether they wish to make oral statements to the House. As the right honourable gentleman will be aware, the convention whereby a minister delivering an oral statement begins it by saying, with permission, Mr. Speaker, I should like to make a statement, is just a convention and, frankly, a courtesy. It's I think, on the whole, a courtesy appreciated by the House. But ministers can make statements to the House when they wish. So what I would say to the right honourable gentleman is that he may wish to wait to see whether there is an offer of a statement, but there are various parliamentary devices open to members to deliver the scrutiny that they think a particular measure warrants, and everything ought to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. Perhaps I can leave it there for now.